Welcome to the Front Seat Life podcast. This is Jessica Butts, your host and CEO and creator of Front Seat Life, where I help you be unapologetically who you are in your life, love, and business. Front Seat Lifers, it is your host, Jessica Butts, and I am thrilled as always to be with you today on this Front Seat Life Friday. And today is a fun episode for me. It is about the two biggest, there's a lot of lessons, but the two biggest lessons I learned from the Front Seat Life event this year. So once a year, I throw this ginormous event. I'm going to be honest, it's the fourth year. There's a lot of feelings around it. And part of what I learned is what I'm going to share about all these feelings. So throwing an event like that is quite honestly, it's just stressful. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of money output. It's sometimes those moments of like, oh my God, is anybody going to show up? And so for 3 years, I hosted an event the way that I watched other people host events. So there's specific ways that you are, using air quotes, supposed to host events. And I have to be honest, for years, basically the 3 years that I did it, it felt fine and a little incongruent to who I am. So I think most of you know my personality type is ENFJ. So my driver of my car is connecting with people. It's an extroverted feeler. It is connecting, being with people, hugging, looking them in the eye, finding out about them, like building a relationship is really my number one thing in this world. It's also my love languages. I am all about quality time, words of affirmation, like that. Those are the things that are important to an ENFJ. My second co-pilot, my second person in the front seat is my co-pilot, which is an introverted intuitive, which is all the things in my head, all the ideas, all the things. But for the event, being on a stage and all the hoopla. So that's what I've been calling it, is all the hoopla. The stage, the music, the pumping up, all the things. Like I think there's a time and a place for that. Granted, I'm a keynote speaker. I do large events like that. I go to other people's events. I get it. There is a time and a place for that. For me personally, and that's what one of the rules was, number one is doing it the way that it matters to me. Thinking outside the box, breaking the rules, being unapologetically who I am, and throwing an event that speaks to my soul so that I can connect with the people that are in the room in a way that feels congruent to who I am. And again, this is not to diss other events. I've thrown 3 events in a row that were really, really awesome. And I was really challenged by my coach, actually, to do it in a way that feels right, to not be so black or white in my thinking, but to really do it in a way that speaks to your soul. So I share my story of this year's event. I've got another huge lesson, but I want you all to think about what in your life or your business or your relationship are you doing something in a way that you should. I think about this in love a lot, is that, do you have to get married? Do you have to live with your partner? Do you have to do things a certain way? Do you have to succumb to living the traditional life? Can you do things in a way that speaks to your soul? Can you travel? Can you live abroad with your children? Can you do things in a different way? And I'm just throwing this out there as an option for life, love, and business. So how in your life can you live a life that is congruent to who you are? How in your business can you think outside the box and not do it in a traditional way? I think this is one of the things, just to toot my own horn a little bit, of what I love about being a coach and the way that I coach is that there is not a one size fits all coaching. Every single person that I work with is different. They have a different family of origin. They may have a different personality type, even though the majority of my clients are ENFPs or INFPs. Those people, even in their personality type, still have different families of origin. They have different backgrounds. They have different relationships with money. They have a different strength of preference of, say, their introvertedness. And everybody needs to be able to go about things, under some of the same rules. Like, sorry, you still got to do social media. You still have to market. You still have to put yourself out there. You still have to do the 8 steps of the Girl Boss program that I teach people. However, you can absolutely do it in your own way. And so that's the first lesson that I really took from this year's event is I just broke the rules. I said, I'm just not going to do it. I'm just not going to have a stage. I'm not even going to have a microphone. I'm going to walk around the room. It's going to be a smaller event because I want to look at people in the eye. I want to be able to put my hand on their shoulder while I'm walking around the room. I want to be able to connect with them and talk to them when I see them on the street in Seattle and all the things. And it worked. It worked. I have left every event, this is a little personal, but I've left every event in the past feeling like I am never doing that again. I'm beat, I'm exhausted, I'm whipped, it didn't feel worth it. I got done with this event and I was like, hell yeah, sign me up. I'm ready to do it in another month. Like, I'm ready to do that kind of event any day of the week. It was less pressure, it was more fun, and it was in alignment with who I am as a human being. And so, again, how can you break the rules? How can you think outside the box? How can you do things differently in your life, in your business, and in your relationships? And this, again, that's all about the being unapologetically who you are in your life, love, and business. Okay, number 2. This is one of the craziest stories I've actually ever heard, and I cannot wait to share it with you. I've asked both of them if I can share this, and they both said yes. So here's the deal. Buckle up. This is an amazing story of manifestation and vision boards and really dreaming big. So my dear, dear friend, former client, now very dear friend, Lisa Fisher, has this woman on her vision board. Her name is Terry Saville Foy or something like that. Terry Saville Foy. And she is a Christian author, leader, just sounds like an all-around awesome human being. I don't follow her, but Lisa loves her. And Lisa has on her vision board, meeting Terry Saville Foy and connecting with her and potentially collaborating with her at some point. And she doesn't know how that's going to happen. She's been to her event 2 years in a row. It's a huge event. Again, big stage. She's not necessarily going to walk up to her and connect. So she has it on her vision board. She has, again, no idea how that's going to happen. She just manifests it, put it on her vision board, is like, I'm just going to hold this true. I'm going to pray about it, all the things. There's a new client that I have, Stacy. I'm not going to use her full name. She's awesome and wonderful and totally my new soul sister. And she has had me on her vision board for an entire year. So she found me on Instagram one year ago, right after my event last year. And she just has been following me and a dedicated follower and been in the community. So the second that we opened up the Front Seat Life event, she signed up. And I mean that, stories like that are unbelievable to me, that I'm on someone's freaking vision board. Like, how beautiful is that? So that's always a very humbling moment, but I happened to be on her vision board. And we were getting pictures taken together, and she's like, oh my God, this is on my vision board. Like, me and you here doing this together. So I'm on her vision board. She takes a leap, flies from Dallas, Texas, comes to Seattle, spends this money, spends her time and energy getting to Seattle. Lisa, again, comes to my event to be on the inspiration panel. So she is somebody who has just got her shit together. She has, taken her, I'm going to use air quotes again, penis. We always joke about the penis, your P and J. It turns out that it says penis, which is really hilarious. And in her coming Lisa gets up on the inspiration panel. She starts telling her story. She's talking about her stuff. Stacy, who's in the room, was already taken the leap of faith. And Lisa, who is totally being of service. Like, she just comes because she loves me and Front Seat Life and what it's done for her life. So there's all this like wonderful, positive energy about supporting other women, taking leaps, having vision boards, all the things. Lisa and Stacy connect because, I can see that happening. They're just two very, very similar human beings. They connect in the back of the room. They start talking about, I don't know the whole story because I wasn't there. I'm hearing this third party from Lisa up in my room later, that she and Stacy start talking. Somehow Terry Seville Foy comes up, and no shit, people, no shit. Pause for dramatic effect. Stacy is personal friends with Terry Seville Foy. I mean, what the fuck? Oh my God, I have chills. I've told this story like 4 times already, and I have chills again. The power of manifestation, the power of dreaming big, the power of prayer, the power of holding on to a dream and a vision, even though you have no idea. Lisa had no idea how that was going to happen. And it turns out, as you're taking a leap, as you're saying yes to yourself, I'm going to divert for 1 second. If you sit in your house and you don't do anything to go towards your dreams, nothing is going to happen. If Lisa would have said, no, I'm busy, I don't want to do that. Or Stacy would have sat in her house and just said, I'm not worthy, Seattle's too far, I don't want to get on a plane, I don't want to go do this thing. You make excuses. None of that shit, oh my God, it like tears me up thinking about it. None of that shit would have happened. Do you get the power of that? You have to say yes. You have to be diligent about what you say yes to. You don't say yes to everything. Like, be real. That would go against my last week's podcast about, setting boundaries, but saying yes to yourself, not making excuses, saying, I'm going to put this Jessica Butts crazy chick up on my vision board. And whenever she has a thing, I'm going to go. When I meet Terry Seville Foy, I'm going to put a huge vision on my vision board. And then when things that feel right in my gut come up, I say yes, and then that is when God can make magic happen. It can't happen if we're sitting in our house not doing anything. It is our job to take action, because that is a God moment if I have ever heard a God moment. I mean, that is so the power of how God works, how the universe works, how manifestation works, better, again, than anything that I've ever heard in my life. So, those are my 2 huge lessons about breaking the rules, being unapologetically who you are, doing it the way that you want to do it. Do it the way that God designed you to do it. And then the power of manifestation, the power of saying yes to yourself, the power of dreaming big, the power of believing that your dreams are going to come true, even though you don't always know how they're going to happen. I mean, people, I can't make this stuff up. I'm just so thankful that my clients and God and the universe continue to give me these messages, so I have content to bring you for this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. As always, it is such a ridiculous honor to hear that people are even listening to this, that people go and leave reviews, and I run into people at Front Seat Life events and things, and they talk about how much they love the podcast. I'm like, oh, thank God someone's listening. Like, I'm sitting in my house right now, like, I don't know if anybody's listening. So I so appreciate that. And I hope that you can learn something from these amazing lessons that I learned from the Front Seat Life event. I will see you guys next week on Front Seat Life Friday. All right, everybody, I have a confession to make. I have a new obsession, and that obsession is reading your ridiculously wonderful, loving, amazing reviews on iTunes. I love them. None of this even matters without all of you. So as a thank you, each week I will be reading one review on air and calling out your review with your name or your iTunes handle. So here's how it's going to go. You're going to go to Instagram and follow me at Front Seat Life. When you hear your name called out on the podcast, you are going to send me a DM with your address and say, "Oh my gosh, you just read my review." And I or my team will be sending you some Front Seat Life swag. We've got books and we've got tank tops and we've got journals and we have these adorable pink swells. So we will be choosing from the goodie bag and sending it out as a thank you. So thank you in advance. And I am so deeply honored to have the opportunity to thank you back. All right, today's podcast review comes from B-Maine, or B-A-M-A-N-E, a 5-star review on iTunes. And this person writes, "Great podcast, really interesting to listen. Jessica, respect to you for your great work of bringing insightful messages about love, life, and business to your listeners." What a beautiful 5-star review. I appreciate it so very much. As always, hop over to my Instagram handle at Front Seat Life. Send me a message and say, "Oh my gosh, you just read my review," and we will lovingly send you a book or a journal or a tank top, all the Front Seat Life swag. So thank you so much. Keep the reviews coming. They mean so much to me. From the bottom of my heart, truly, thank you so much for listening. I know that you have a ton of options, and the fact that you are taking time to listen to the Front Seat Life podcast means absolutely everything to me. If you're interested in learning more about the Front Seat Life way of life in the community, there's a couple ways that you can do that. First is always starting with your personality assessment tool. It's available on my website at jessicabutts.com. It's totally free, and it will help you figure out your personality type so you'll have some idea of what we're talking about. Next is, if you're interested in hiring me for a keynote or some coaching or strategy days or the fabulous and amazing Front Seat Life community, you can find out all about all of that at jessicabutts.com. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time.